To start your training for MoonPixlar, I'm going to be walking you guys through an initial tutorial for using this system to create graphics for you. And then additional training videos included with this bonus course are going to be teaching you about creating specific types of images and even what to do with those images. So to begin with, when you log into your MoonPixlar account, you're going to end up on the main membership page like you see on my screen here. Up at the top, you can reach some limited training that is available for MoonPixlar from the developers. You can also go and access your saved projects. You can download, share, or even go back through and edit the existing projects that you have. The main functionality, though, is found in these 6 buttons right here, though. Each of these, when you click on them, expands with another listing of choices for you. All you have to do is simply click on one of these choices and you will start creating an ad. Now, depending on what kind of image you want to make, you can make ad images, you can make social media, website headers, logos. Within the miscellaneous, they have a number of other different kinds, things like infographics. So if you have something specific that you're looking to create, I would first recommend to look through the different choices here, the 3 across the top and then the 2 on the bottom right here, and make sure there's not something that directly corresponds to what it is you're trying to create first. It can also be a good idea to simply go through each of these one at a time just to get an idea of what the templates or the themes are going to be like. Each of these different areas can potentially allow you to create a different type of image, and it may have different pre-built templates or themes that you can use for those images. Just to show you what I'm talking about, I'll click on this first one here that says Facebook post. I'm just going to title this based on what it is, just to get me started. And you can see when you first load up one of these, over here on the left, you have these different themes that are available. When you scroll to the bottom of the list, sometimes it'll even load up more of them for you. Just kind of depends on how many are available in that particular category. So by getting familiar with the different types of themes or templates that are available in this software, the different sizes, what kind of information you can have on any of these given themes, this can make a big difference when you are choosing what to select to create your image with, because you can save yourself a lot of work if you can find a theme or a template that is along the lines of what you're trying to create. However, you can create basically anything that you see in this software manually. You don't have to use these pre-done templates. If you notice, when you open up one of these templates and scroll your mouse over any given item, it highlights it. That's because the templates are made within the software themselves, and so you can go through and edit them. So also keep that in mind. You're not restricted by the words or even the images or the colors that you see in the template. What you should really be more focused on is the overall design. What I mean by that is, for this template, you have a background image. We have some basic text in the middle that's talking about the company name. And then down here at the bottom, we have a spot for our domain name. Well, you can easily change this template to work for pretty much any website by simply modifying the text that is found here and down at the bottom. You can change the colors around of pretty much any of these elements, and you can even change the background image. All you have to do is just click on something, and then it opens up over here for you to make changes to it. So if you wanted to set a different background, all you'd have to do is click on background. You can set a solid color or one of pre-created backgrounds, or you can even upload your own. So let's say I didn't want to use that original image, but I like this whole setup. I can simply change the different aspects of this and make it work with pretty much anything that I'm trying to go for, any different particular type of design, for example. So you can see there how with just a couple of quick changes, how I've taken that original theme and completely changed it to make it my own. Obviously, I haven't edited any of the text here yet, but just to show you that the themes can be adapted to pretty much any kind of a usage. Now the custom graphics. I wanted to point this one out to you because this is different from all of the other ones. With custom graphics, you do not have a pre-defined theme for you. You build everything from scratch when you're doing custom graphics. However, the big advantage to this one is that you can choose the exact dimensions that you want the image created in. So if you need something for a very specific purpose, all you have to do is create a custom graphic, set the size exactly how you want it to, and then you can choose all of the same elements that you had access to in all the different areas. So I can still create the same basic type of setup like what I had before. I can just go through and piece the elements together one at a time, like so. And I could continue on adding in text and other different graphics to spice it up. I could even try to reproduce that other theme if that's what I was going for, but if I just wanted it to be in some kind of a different shape or size. So you're not limited by even the predefined, the pre-built things that are created in this system. Now, in terms of utilizing MoonPixlar to create different graphics projects and to then save these images so you could go and upload them on various websites of yours. The only thing you really have to worry about is a limited group of controls right up here in the top right-hand corner. The Save button. Anytime you click it, you're going to be saving the changes that you have made to this current project. And it will be saved under the name that you provide for that project when you first create it. Back on this original screen, when I clicked on one of these and it prompts me with a name to type in for my project, that's how the project is going to be saved and forever remembered. So when you're pulling the projects up through the latest projects here or your saved project list, you're going to be seeing them based on the name that you have provided to begin with. So that's how you save it to later access it if you wanted to come back and make some changes to it, or if you weren't quite finished with it and you needed to put it off till later, you save it that way as well. So whenever you're completely finished working on something, make sure you do save those changes. If for some reason, let's say you start working on an image and you save it at a certain point, and then maybe you start doing a couple of experiments with your image to try different things, and you don't like it and you want to revert it back to how it was. You can use the undo button over here on the side, but you could also just simply close down the page, just go back to the main page here and click on Leave Page, and it's not going to save any of the changes that you have made. The only way it's going to save those is if you actually click on it. So with that said, you also don't want to be leaving this page in this manner if you haven't saved something, but you can also revert back to a previous save this way if you have not saved it and you want to just undo the changes that you have made in the page. Now, as far as utilizing this software, I'm going to open up an infographic project here, simply because this type of project has a decent variety of the different types of elements that you can possibly create using MoonPixlar. You have a background first of all. We'll start from the very back and we'll work our way up. Our background, if you ever need to access it when you are not going through and actually setting it yourself, if you're looking at a pre-done theme like what I'm looking at here, and you want to access your background, you can usually click where there is nothing. However, some of these themes have these little color overlays. You can see this happening on my screen here. I actually have to drag it away, and then I can see that, hey, there's a background there of a pregnant woman. And you almost don't even notice it before with this overlay. You just kind of get a little hint of it. So if I want to edit the background, I need to be able to actually see it and click on it. When you click on it, it'll then open up that background for you over here. You can change the area of the background that is being used. Maybe I just wanted to show her face like this. You can see it completely changes the background that's being provided there. If you want to set a new background, you go over here on the left and you click on background and you find your background. But once you specify another background here, once you click on something, it's going to wipe out that original background that you did. So make sure you do indeed want to change it if you actually click on something here. Now the part that's sitting on top of my background here, this is actually just a block of color. You can create these in a number of different ways. What I actually like to do is use the shape. I'll go to Shape and Basic Shapes, and then I'll just click on this gray rectangle right here. You can see how it created this rectangle for me now. I can then put these rectangles in any place that I want to. I can make them different shapes and sizes. And I can even change around things like the color and the opacity. So, for example, on this really large image here, or this really large black box, you could take this gray box here and expand it to that size if you were looking to, say, create this from scratch. Expand it to the size that you want it. I could then change the color of it if I wanted it black. If I wanted to make it partially see-through, like the previous example was. The other major part of it, though, is the ordering, what they call layers in this software, where right now, if I have this rectangle set at an opacity of 100%, you can't see anything else that is there because this layer is on top of everything. Well, what I can do is actually move the layer down by clicking on the layer down button here. And you can see as I click on it, each time I click, different elements that are behind it begin to show up. That's because with each click, I'm moving this box down a level. So once I've moved it down enough levels, everything that was underneath it is now showing up. And now the box is back behind everything that I was creating. And then if I was going to set an opacity on it, so it could actually be viewed through, depending on how much of the background I wanted to be able to be seen, I would simply adjust that opacity number accordingly. Now, these rectangle boxes, like what I was just making, they can also be used to create all other different types of designs that you see used in a lot of these templates. For example, the little color bar across the top right here can be created with that. The color bar across the bottom, these green boxes that are in the middle of the page here, you can even take one of these and shrink it down to make it so skinny that it's only a line thick or a line thin. And that's an easy way that you can create these little dividers. You can create both horizontal and vertical dividers in that manner. As you can see like this, I can easily create a little white divider and I can make it whatever size I want it to, whatever color I want it to. Now, in addition to this box that I was creating here, you have all other different kinds of shapes that you can actually be adding in. They have a bunch of different categories for these shapes. If you're looking for something very particular, though, search for it with a simple keyword up at the top, and you might actually be able to find something. Like if I wanted a little icon of a mountain, I could type in mountain, and I get a couple of different possibilities. Looks like I have a guy mountain biking, and then I have a couple of little mountain peaks, looks like with a road leading up to it. Any of these little icons that are in these shapes, these are really easy to add in. And the color that you're seeing over here is not set in stone. Here's this little mountain that I just added. You can see it comes out and it's really tiny and it's all black and white. However, I have my colors up here that allow me to adjust different aspects of it. So I could make the mountains brown. could leave the road black, and I could leave the peaks white. But each different color that's used within that can be adjusted. So you can kind of redesign these different icons to get them to fit the overall look of the graphic that you're creating. Now, just like with these shapes, you also have images that you can add in. You can find and upload your own image, but you can also search for images. This actually uses a site called Pixabay, a site that I actually find myself using because they have royalty-free images, at least a decent selection of them. And you can directly search for images through this system, and it pulls it up and shows it to you on the screen. So you can add these things into your graphic by just clicking on them, and you can even resize them and stuff as needed. So with this access to these high quality images, plus all these different icons and stuff, you can really mix and match these things to create a really wide variety of really nice graphics. Now, another major part that you'll be using in this software is going to be the text. As you can see, there's a lot of different areas of text on this particular infographic page. Whenever you have existing text, you can click on it, and while you're still holding your mouse button, you can drag it around to change its location. You can also use keyboard hotkeys that are available within this software. Certain things like, if I click on the image one time, I can then use my arrow keys on my keyboard, left and right, up and down, to very slightly change the position of the text. This can also be done with other elements, not just text too. You can do this with the colored boxes or images and things like that that I've already shown you. With the text though, you can also double click on it. Once you double click on it, you're going to get this little bar right here that allows you to change some things. You can do certain things like change the color if you wanted to delete it entirely. You can change the size or the font that is being used, so you can make it look like whatever you want it to look like. This also allows you to do things like changing the color, as you saw before. Now, in terms of editing, if you click on this, let's see, I believe it's 3 times. 3 times, you will select all of the text that is there. Then you can just hit the backspace button on your keyboard, and you can start typing something new. Now, if you find yourself working with a large amount of text, you can see here how I have this paragraph of text. If I click on it 3 times, it's really just going to select one of the lines of text for me. It's not going to select everything that is there. To a certain extent, it can be a little hard to see where exactly the mouse pointer is at. So using things like the zooming features over here on the left can be really helpful. This way you can actually get down in on this image and see exactly where this little cursor is at, because that's where you're going to be typing from. You also don't seem to have access to the home and the end keys like you would normally have when you're typing. So if I wanted to go to the end of this particular line of text, hitting the N key is not going to work for me. If you have a multi-line like this, you can go down a line and use the left key. And you can see my cursor is now all the way over here at the end. However, if you're on the first or the last line, you can actually use the down key. I just hit the down key there. I'm at the beginning of this line, and I now hit the down key, and it puts me at the end of this line. So what I can do is put my cursor at the end of all the text, or even at the beginning of all the text, and then I can hold the Shift button and use my up and down arrows to easily select all this text, and then I can start typing new stuff into it. At first glance, it may kind of seem like this software is fairly simple. You just type in text and you rearrange images and stuff like that. But you actually have a pretty decent amount of control over the layout and the orientation and the design of different aspects that you're building into these images. And that's one of the things that I really like about it the most. Some of these things, though, are not necessarily features that stand out to you. It's not like you have a big button over here like you have for text to create new text on your screen. You don't have certain things like rotate or ways to style your text that are easily seen, but those features are built into the software. For example, if I click on an element, I have these little resize boxes that are around it. I can click on one of these to drag it to change the size. If I want to keep the same proportions in terms of width versus the height, I go for one of the corner boxes here. You can see here how I can make it smaller or I can make it larger, but the text still looks the same despite this size change. If I want to change that aspect ratio of height to width, then I would want to click on one of the boxes on the side. I can stretch it out or even shrink it down like this, and I can do the same thing in the other direction. I can shrink it down, I can stretch it out to be really, really large letters. So these different controls for resizing are available with pretty much anything in this software. You also have this extra box that's sticking up off the top of it right here. If you click on this and drag your mouse to the left or the right, you can actually change the rotation of different items. So you can rotate text. You can also rotate things like your lines or your boxes that you create. So you don't have to make everything just, boring straight text and lines and straight boxes. You can put a fair amount of creative design into the creation of images with MoonPixlar. Now with certain things like the text, for example, you have these different drop-down boxes like I've shown you where you can choose the type of text in terms of the font that's being used. You can make them larger or smaller using this control also. You don't have to use the corner boxes like what I was showing you a few minutes ago. But one feature that's really easy to overlook is this little drop down arrow all the way off to the right here. This one actually allows you to do things like italics and bold and the alignment. If you want to align a couple of different lines of text, if you want them to all be centered, for example. If you want to copy, this is actually really big. If you find yourself setting up a number of different areas of text, like for example, this part down here, how we have a header and a paragraph, and then a header and a paragraph, and a header and a paragraph, having to go through and manually select all the different options can be a little time consuming. You can just copy it from the first one that you set up and just go back through and make duplicates of it this way. So this allows you to have really a lot more control to the design and the layout, and ensuring that you have a uniform look through different elements that are on your page as well. The other main place that you want to watch out for different available features is when you click on an area. This is mostly going to be for things like backgrounds and images and the different shapes and stuff like that that you can create. Always look over on the left. You might have a choice of different colors or an opacity, which can make things transparent. And then especially the layering tool. This allows you to change what is on top and what is shown back behind these different elements that you're creating. So hopefully this gives you a decent overview of all the main features and how to actually go about using this software. In the coming training lessons, you will be seeing some more hands-on demonstrations with creating specific types of images using MoonPixlar.